comes out in a very provocative gown with high heels, and all of a sudden that little girl knocks you right off your ass.
She was 10 years old when they said that, on television, with a studio audience, and nobody flinched.
A lot of sexual energy that is oozing out of that little girl. She can't possibly manage that kind of sex.
They didn't just say it, they predicted what it would do to her, and then they kept filming.
Britney Spears was arrested Wednesday night, according to information from Ventura County, California authorities.
Decades later, after the conservatorship, after the lithium, after 13 years of having every decision made for her, her name shows up in Jeffrey Epstein's private emails. And the same week, she finally gets a restraining order against a man who'd been stalking her for over a decade, her Dewey becomes the only headline anyone will talk about. But here's what nobody is connecting out loud. This is not a story about a pop star who fell apart. This is a story about a system that was designed from the very beginning to take a little girl, turn her into a product, and make sure she never fully belonged to herself again. Let's go back to the beginning. Not the albums, not the music videos, not the Rolling Stone cover. The actual beginning. A talent competition. A 10-year-old from Kentwood, Louisiana, standing under bright lights while adult men in suits decided whether she had it.
Britney was transformed, pouring on a sexy southern charm the judges had never seen in a package so small.
She just wanted to sing. She wanted to win. She wanted the lights and the applause because every adult in her life had taught her that performing was how you earned love. That need, that completely natural, completely innocent need is exactly what they exploited. Because here is how the machine works at its entry point. Little girls are brought in by parents who believe in their child's talent. Adults in positions of power decide not just whether you can sing, but whether you are worth investing in, what you look like, how you move, whether you have it, and what it means to men who sit on camera and describe the energy coming off a child's body. That is the selection process. That is where it starts. And once you are selected, you do not belong to yourself anymore. You belong to the industry. Britney entered that machine as a child. She came out as a brand. And from that moment forward, every person in her orbit had a financial stake in what she did, how she looked, whether she performed, and critically, whether she stayed compliant.
The most adorable, pretty eyes. You have a boyfriend?
No, sir.
How about me?
That is what the world decided a 10-year-old girl was for. And that normalization, that cultural operating system, followed her every single step of the way. Fast forward to 2007. Britney Spears is one of the most famous human beings on the planet. She is also visibly falling apart. The shaved head, the umbrella, the hospitalizations. The world watched with their phones out and called it a meltdown. But let's slow down and ask the question nobody was asking in real time. What does it actually feel like to be her at that moment? You have been performing since you were a child. You have never once just been a person. You went from your parents controlling your schedule to managers controlling your image to an entire industry controlling your output. You have spent your entire life being told what to wear, what to say, how to move, how to look. You have been since you were 10 years old and been expected to manage that with a smile. And now, at 26, the cracks are showing, not because you are broken, because this is what happens when a human being is treated like a product for long enough. And what did the system do when she started to crack? It did not offer her compassion. It offered her a cage with a legal framework around it. In February 2008, just weeks after her hospitalization, her father, Jamie Spears, petitioned a California court and was granted something called a conservatorship. For those who need the quick breakdown, a conservatorship means another person legally controls your life, your money, your medical decisions, your career, your relationships, your daily schedule, everything. And in her memoir, The Woman in Me, Britney described what that looked like from the inside. She was locked in rooms. She could not drive. She could not draw a bath in private. She was placed on lithium, a heavy psychiatric medication, Epstein without her full and informed consent. The same drug, she noted, that drove her grandmother to suicide. 13 years. That conservatorship ran from 2008 to November 2021. 13 years of having every single decision about her body, her money, her children, and her mind made by someone else. She went from a child who was never allowed to just be a child directly into an adult who was never allowed to just be an adult. She never had a single day of actual autonomy. Now, two names kept surfacing when people started digging into how that conservatorship was actually constructed. The first is Lou Taylor, a Hollywood management executive running a firm called Tristar. Taylor allegedly played a key architectural role in building the conservatorship around Britney, and her client list, pay attention here, included the Kardashian family businesses: Kim's KKB Fragrance, Kylie's King Kylie LLC, Chris's Family Foundation, Kendall's 818 Tequila, Travis Scott's Cactus Jack, all of it documented in court filings from 2020 and 2021. And Lou Taylor's firm also represented Diddy, the same woman, the same firm, Britney's conservatorship, Diddy's management, the Kardashian empire, and then the Epstein files opened. In early 2026, a fresh batch of Epstein documents became publicly available, and the internet immediately caught fire. The claim going most viral was that Britney Spears was mentioned 115 times in the files. And look, fact checkers went in. IbTimes UK, Factually.co, legal experts. They went through what was publicly released and concluded there was no verified criminal connection tying Britney to Epstein as a participant. I am not going to hand you speculation and call it fact. That is not what this channel does. But here is what they did not debunk. Here is what is sitting in those documents. Documented, real, and almost completely ignored by mainstream coverage. In the Epstein files, there are emails between Jeffrey Epstein and a man named Mark Tramo. Tramo is an adjunct professor at UCLA with a background in neurology and music-related research. In those emails, they are discussing securing funding for what the documents describe as, and this is a direct reference from the files, a project relating to Britney Spears. Her child custody situation comes up in the same conversation.
Now pause it to read this entire email. I just want to focus on the Britney Spears part together. So starting up here with the salary would free me up.
Now, while those emails were being written, Britney Spears was being held at the UCLA Resnick Psychiatric Hospital, the same university system where Tramo worked. She was not there voluntarily. Multiple sources confirmed she was kept there against her will. Let that land. A man with documented connections to Jeffrey Epstein was emailing about a project involving Britney's name and her children, while she sat locked in a room at his university and could not leave. There is also a reference in those emails to a neonatal IQ project connected to her name. Nobody has been able to fully explain what that means in the context of a woman who had already given birth to both of her children.
And I'll just let you read that PS yourself about what will make babies suck on a pacifier more vigorously. Highly disturbing to me.
And then there is TMZ. Epstein reportedly said on record that Harvey Levin, the CEO of TMZ, was, to paraphrase directly from the files, a good friend of mine. Fast forward to March 2026. Who is leading the media charge on Britney's Dewey story? TMZ. Who is getting her family members and exes to do interviews? TMZ. Who is pushing the loudest narrative that she is spiraling and cannot be trusted to manage her own life? TMZ. The same media company whose CEO is documented as a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein is the loudest voice right now telling the world that Britney Spears is out of control. Connect those dots yourself. I want to stop here because this is the part that most coverage either skips or buries in a footnote, and I think it might be the most important part of this entire story. What does 13 years of heavy lithium use actually do to a person? This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented medical fact. Sustained high-dose lithium use over a long period of time can cause lasting neurological damage. It affects memory, it affects coordination, it affects emotional regulation, and cognitive function, and the damage can be permanent. Britney described being placed on lithium without her full and informed consent, heavy doses, consistent, for over a decade, by the same conservatorship that was allegedly architected by a woman whose management network connected directly to both Diddy and the financial apparatus around the Kardashian empire. They controlled what she took into her own body for 13 years.
They would have had them right where they wanted them.
That is the whole story in one sentence. A system that profits from your performance needs you performing. A system that profits from your silence needs you silent. And a system that profits from your compliance will medicate you into compliance when your free will becomes inconvenient. So, when people mock the way she moves now, when they screenshot her social media captions and make jokes, when doctors who have never been in the same room as her go on cable news to speculate about her diagnosis, I need those people to sit with this. She was chemically altered against her will for over a decade by a conservatorship whose architects had documented connections to some of the most powerful and dangerous people in Hollywood. The damage you are mocking may not be a character flaw, it may be evidence. March 5th, 2026, California Highway Patrol spots a 2026 BMW convertible weaving through Ventura County. They pull it over. Field sobriety tests failed. Drug recognition expert called in. Blood drawn at a local hospital. Car impounded. Britney Spears arrested on suspicion of DUI, suspected combination of alcohol and drugs. Released the following morning. Court date set for May 4th, 2026, Ventura County Superior Court.
Booking information obtained by CNN shows that the pop star was stopped by the California Highway Patrol around 9:30 p.m.
The media response was immediate. Helicopters over her house. Exes running to CNN for interviews. Doctors who have never treated her going on camera to talk about her bipolar disorder. A diagnosis, by the way, that has never been publicly confirmed. Here is what was buried in that coverage. This arrest happened just days after Britney was granted a restraining order against a man who had been stalking her since 2013. Over a decade, 13 years of being hunted by this person, and the same week she finally gets legal protection against him. The DUI becomes the only story anyone will tell. And now the legal question that nobody wants to ask out loud. A Page 6 legal expert noted in March 2026 that one DUI alone will not reinstate a conservatorship. But if the pattern continues, more incidents, more hospitalizations, more erratic public behavior, her family could absolutely petition the court for a new one. And here is why that detail is chilling. The original conservatorship in 2008 was triggered by just 2 psychiatric holds within weeks of each other. 2. That pattern is beginning to look familiar. Kevin Federline, not a fan favorite in this conversation, I know, published a memoir in October 2025 called You Thought You Knew. And he wrote something that at the time seemed dramatic.
I'm really worried. I'm absolutely, as a father, terrified that one day I might wake up and my sons are going to have to deal with the unimaginable.
5 months after that memoir dropped, the DUI happened. Being right does not care about your reputation. As of April 2026, Britney Spears voluntarily checked into a substance abuse treatment facility. Good Morning America confirmed it.
This morning, Britney Spears is in rehab. A rep for the star confirming to ABC News she has voluntarily checked herself into a treatment facility.
But here's the part the headlines glossed over entirely. She refused to go for weeks. A close source told News Nation in March 2026, and this line explains everything. She has very big trust issues. She will not sign anything anymore because of the last conservatorship. Of course she will not. That is not erratic behavior. That is not instability. That is a woman whose entire life has taught her that signing things is how you lose yourself. Every single time she trusted the system took something from her. Her body was commodified at 10, her freedom was stripped at 26, her children, her money, her medical decisions handed to someone else. And through all of it, her name ended up in the private correspondence of the most notorious predator in modern American history. What would that do to you? Here is what ties all of this together. And I need you to sit with this because this is the part most coverage refuses to say directly. Britney Spears was not a random name to end up in those files. The system that built her and the network that surrounded Epstein operated on the same logic. Find them young, make them valuable, control the access, control the narrative. And when they start to break, or worse, when they start to talk, control the story. The documentary footage of a 10-year-old Britney with adult men on camera openly analyzing her body. That is not a side note, that is the operating system. That is how the machine identifies its assets. The conservatorship, the lithium, the 13 years of legal captivity managed by a woman whose firm connected directly to Diddy and the Kardashian financial empire. That is the machine tightening its grip when the asset that becomes inconvenient. The Epstein emails referencing her name, with specific mentions of her children and a neonatal ICU project, while she sat locked in a room at his university and could not leave. That is the machine, operating further down the road, still running. The TMZ helicopters over her house the week of the DUI, led by a CEO documented as Epstein's close friend, telling the world she cannot be trusted. That is the machine managing the narrative. She was never outside of it, from the Star Search stage to the UCLA psychiatric ward. The thread never broke. The machine never released her.
So as she grows up, you're going to see this split between Britney, actual Britney, and then there's Britney.
They said it on television. They predicted the split in her personality. They knew what they were doing would fracture her. They said it out loud and kept filming anyway, because the profit was worth more than the person. The question is not whether Britney Spears made mistakes. She did. The DUI happened. The pattern of crisis is real. None of that is up for debate. The question is, who built the conditions for those mistakes? Who profited from her compliance for 13 years? Whose names appear in the same documents, the same emails, the same court filings, connecting the conservatorship to Diddy's management to the Kardashian financial network, to a man who was emailing Jeffrey Epstein about projects tied to her name while she sat locked in a hospital room? She is not a cautionary tale. She is what happens when the machine works exactly as designed, and the girl inside it is never given a single safe exit. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the people around her right now actually want her well? And if you want us to go all the way in on the Lou Taylor and Kardashian money trail as its own full episode, type money trail below. We will build that out completely. Stay locked in. We will see you in the next one.